In this video and in the next couple videos, I'm going to focus in on conditional statements here within PHP. And this particular video is going to focus in on the if and if-else statements here within PHP, which is the basic one that kind of most people learn first. And it's going to give us a condition to say if something is true, run this code. Else, meaning if it's not true, then run the code that I set for the condition is not true. And then after that, we're going to talk about if and if-else statement in the next video. And then after that, we're going to talk about a switch statement within PHP, which kind of changes it all up again. And so all three of these videos are going to be focusing in on conditional statements. We're going to test to see if something's true. And based on our result, we're going to run code for that. And so I'm going to leave what I have here currently up. And in fact, I can go ahead and I'll go ahead and leave the echo statement because I'm going to eventually be using the function that I created here in my last video just to demonstrate how to use some kind of functions and then basically test its results within an if or conditional statement. So let's go ahead and start off with, I can start with the keyword of if, and after if I can use the parentheses here. This is going to be the if function that we're going to work with to test to see if something is true or not. So the if statement itself is going to basically rely on whatever's in the parentheses, and if it ends up being true, as a result of that, we're going to run the code that's going to follow here. So let's just go ahead and put in there some hard-coded numbers. Let's just go ahead and say 220. If 220 is greater than 200, I'll just go ahead and use a regular greater than symbol. And then what I'll need to do is have an opening curly brace and then an ending curly brace. Then anything that falls in between the opening and ending curly brace is going to be code that's going to run if that condition is true. Now, 220 is greater than 200. So currently my condition is true. So let's just go ahead and say if that's true, let's go ahead and echo out this distance is too far. There we go. And I'll go ahead and add a break tag to the beginning of that so that I'm on a different line. There we go. I'll go ahead and save it and refresh my page over here, and you'll see this distance is too far has been echoed out on my web page because this condition is true. If I were to make the condition not true, let's just go ahead and put it 20. If 20 is greater than 200, that is a false result. Since that is a false result, this will not run, and I'll just go ahead and refresh my page to see that. So you can see that that does not run. So I can hard code numbers in here like that. I can also put in my function that I created from before, and I just want to show you if I were to do distance and then put in the 44 and 5 like so, that's going to result in 220. We can see that right there, which 220 is going to be greater than 200. So if I save it and refresh it, it's going to say the distance is too far because that result is going to be too far. I'm going to take this echo statement out here. There we go. And I'll go ahead and save it. Now if I were to change it to something like 44 and 4, that's going to result in a number smaller than 200, and I save it and refresh it, you'll notice that that condition is no longer true, and so my echo statement does not run. Now if I wanted to, I could write code for the opposite effect, meaning if it was false. So if this returns a false, I can use a keyword called else. And so I'll go ahead and type in else now after this. And you can see that else will turn blue. And then after the else statement, I'll go ahead and if I have multiple lines, I just usually get in the habit of using the curly braces for this. After the else statement, I can go ahead and enter some code, and let's just go ahead and put a break tag in there. And I'm just going to put it in there. Let's see, break tag. I'll just go ahead and put this is an OK distance. And I'll go ahead and end that with a semicolon, and I need to put an echo statement in front of that. So we'll type in echo. Let's go ahead and hit save and refresh my page, and you will see that this is an OK distance now appears because of my condition that I have set up here. So if I remove the 4 and replace it with like a 6, which would definitely make it larger than 200, and refresh my page, you'll see that since this distance will be greater than 200, it's going to echo out this line of code, or it's going to run that line of code. If it was false, it would have echoed out this line of code. Now, a couple things that I want to point out with using the if statement and the else statement is the fact that the if statement itself does not end in a semicolon. If you'll notice the if, and then I've got my condition, and then the next line, this statement that I'm using here, if the condition is true, will end in a semicolon. However, I do not have a semicolon ending here at the end of the if statement itself. So keep that in mind while you're working with the if statement. Also, I use curly braces here, and that's because I'm used to using curly braces. However, if it's going to be just one line of code that you have, you can actually remove the curly braces like so, and that'll go ahead and only display the next line of code immediately after the if statement. Now, I do not recommend doing that. In fact, if I hit save and hit refresh, you can still see it says the distance is too far, so it still ran the condition here for if it's true. If I were to remove it from here, the else statement, I would do that as well. And now if I hit save, refresh it, it still works. However, if I change it to something smaller again, like 3 here, you'll see that it will switch over to this is an okay distance. So you don't have to use the curly braces. However, if there were multiple lines or multiple statements, you're going to definitely want to have the curly braces. So get in the habit. I would at least recommend getting in the habit of using the curly braces for your if, and then also for the else if that condition is not true. And in the next video, we're going to work with some more statements. We're going to work with the if and else if statements within PHP code.